Hey, are you looking to evolve to a higher level of existence? To practically harness spirituality and personal growth in a crazy, busy, imperfect world? Then you've come to the right place. My name is Prash, and this is Urban Spirituality, the show which fuses ancient wisdom with contemporary spiritual practices to deliver value-adding tools, traits, and insights to help you live your fullest potential. We always keep it real, featuring authentic, unfiltered dialogue with guests from diverse backgrounds to inspire, entertain, and enlighten all who listen. So get ready for your dose of urban spirituality. Be present and let's dive in. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Urban Spirituality. My name is Prash K, and I am with a very dangerous man. One of the possibly the most dangerous guest we've had on this show, because he comes from the lineage, the martial arts lineage of Bruce Lee, the legendary Bruce Lee himself. He is a martial arts master in the art known as Wing Chun Kung Fu, to those of you who may have heard of it. He also has a raft of academic qualifications, including a law degree, an MBA, the CFA Certified Financial Advisor exams. Somewhere along the way, he's been a director in the city, a consulting and technology director. He's the CEO of his own company. He's a martial arts master and teacher. There's so much more to say. And he's a family man. So he's walking his walk, bringing up amazing children. Please show your love for the very special and very dangerous Angel Dobardziev.
Thank you, Prash.
That's going to be worth a few martial arts class free lessons, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Angel, thank you for being with us. Take a bow. Tell us something, man.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here. I think it's wonderful. What you're doing is wonderful. I'm delighted to be here, have this conversation. Hopefully, I can share my perspective on some of the common challenges we all face as we grapple with life and our journey, and what lessons I've learned, and if any of them are useful to the audience, I'd be delighted.
Angel, aside with all these different hats that you wear, and as per the introduction, take us back to the young Angel in your home country from Macedonia.
Yeah. And
tell us a little bit about the journey that has led you to the path that you follow now, and the skills and the interest that you've accumulated over the years.
It was an interesting journey. I was always a very bright kid, and school was never a problem. So I always did really great at school, but I was also pretty good at sports, but I felt like I needed a bit of a better balance. And sort of throughout high school, as you grow up, as you go into adolescence, I encountered this wonderful martial art that was practiced by these guys. It looks so interesting, nothing like I've seen before.
Right.
And I was 16 when I started practicing martial art, and I've been doing it for over 2 decades since. In the meantime, you get on with lots of other things in life. You have an academic career, you do masters, but martial arts stayed with me, and it's been that anchor in life that gave me that not just physical but mental, but also spiritual balance. Because life is about enjoying every day, but also having a longer term goal for me, and having the ability, the discipline, the resilience to sort of put something towards those long term goals.
Right.
It's one of the key benefits for me from martial arts, and the things that I did on the academic side, on the professional side, fed nicely into the martial arts side and vice versa. And there's also a mental and spiritual side to martial arts, not just a physical exercise. And I'm sure we'll go into that. But I was always the curious one, and martial art sort of brought me into a completely new world of exploring a side of you that don't normally do in an academic or even in a sports context.
Right. So martial arts aside, you went on an academic journey. How did you find a way to synthesize your passion for martial arts, which you did more than the average attender? You weren't just a tourist, and I know you use this word, you like this word, tourists. You weren't just a tourist in martial arts. You really took it seriously. You come from the lineage. Your own master, or one of your masters, is in the lineage of Bruce Lee and Ip Man. Tell us a little bit about that.
My master back in Macedonia started with Wing Chun, who was a friend and teacher of Bruce Lee and student of Ip Man. It was great to learn from someone who had that sort of instruction. And later I have met and hosted Grandmaster William Chen as well. Over here and learn from him and studied with him. I'm a big believer in, if you go into something, you put everything into it, or you don't do it at all. I think a lot of the time we touch on something, we scratch the surface, and we don't really experience the real beauty of it. To get the real pleasure of doing something, you gotta put in a little bit more time and effort than your average. And I was fortunate that I did have the time and I could enjoy it while I was still studying intensely at high school and university. The nice thing about sort of doing something like this is, if you put in energy into it, it actually gives you more energy to bring back into your
the other areas of your life as well, right?
You get more focus, you get energy, it was not too difficult. Obviously, it also keeps you away from some more crazy things that you do as a student. If you spend your time a little bit more time practicing and studying than doing all sorts of crazy things. But so for me, the two actually fed into each other, and we also did during the study not just learning martial art, but we experimented with competing in proper full contact kickboxing type of competitions where, due to the power of this martial art, we won quite easily against people who've been training kickboxing for years and years, and we prepared for just a few months. We applied the principles of this martial arts. I think for me, at that time, as you develop and you establish your personality, having a martial arts and a community of martial artists and masters to work with, has added a huge new dimension and really helped my development in a much more balanced way than I've seen some of my some of the people my age at that time, where you grow up really fast and it can be quite confusing and scary.
Yeah, absolutely. But the thing is that you found a way to synthesize the lessons and the techniques, the wisdom and the philosophy of the martial arts that you've done, and found a way to almost transmute those into things that you can use in your career. I mean, You've done 2 degrees, you did an MBA, you did a law degree. Can you share a little bit of an insight how some of those martial arts skills and wisdom helped you in your career? The first thing you to achieve any goal, the first thing you've got to have is that discipline and patience. And if something is important to you, like mastering a martial art or finishing a degree or getting a good grade, then martial arts gives you that ability and the habit of putting energy and your focus and discipline, which is
which is really important. The other thing that you get is how you deal with setbacks. You know, we all have a lot of setbacks in life, right? Everyone gets knocked down now and again.
Right.
What martial arts teach you is you keep going, you pick yourself up, you know, and you keep learning, you keep fighting. Whereas, and taking that sort of attitude of, you know, picking yourself up from your knocks as you get them through life, building that resilience, it's tremendously powerful. It's absolutely tremendously powerful. I've seen, and personally, and I've also seen with other friends, people that had that resilience and that ability to pick themselves up from a knock have went much further than, you know, sometimes more talented people. But you know, got dragged down with a simple setback. And so that building that internal resilience, building that belief in your own ability, in your ability to not just achieve goals, but, you know, face setbacks, make mistakes, and then, you know, learn from those. So that sort of learning from your mistakes, that resilience to pick yourself up when you're down, it's tremendous. It's absolutely tremendous. And,
right.
And you know, to basically, to, you know, you learn to adapt to whatever life throws at you while you're trying to achieve your goals that are important to you.
So let's talk about, let's elaborate about this, because we've talked about how you synthesize it. How does martial arts help you in this area of learning to set and achieve long-term goals amid the mass, you know, distractions and the temptations for instant gratification? Because that's the era we're living in, right? People want gratification quickly because they're feeling a lot of pain in their lives and they need a quick hit. And at the same time, they want distraction from stuff that's actually meaningful, because distraction is often a lot easier than dealing with stuff. So, and that's a distraction. So
it is. I think we live in a really exciting time, but at the same time a difficult time because, you know, of smartphones and social media and all these devices that we have. It almost becomes difficult to have a deep thought and separate yourself and so on. So I think for me, one thing that you realize is as you practice martial art, as you get into a session, whether it's half an hour, an hour and a half, as you get to that feeling of flow without distractions, firstly you've got to be there to really do it. If you don't concentrate, especially if you're sparring, you know, you get hit. So you've got to do it without distraction. So you take that attitude of being in the moment for a period of time, and then that feeling, you know, that sort of attitude, focus, when you take it to the rest of your life, to your work, and even when you think about long-term goals, we quite often tend to procrastinate. Yeah, this email pops up, or this sort of WhatsApp message pops up, and we don't deal with the issues that matter at the moment. Whereas, you know, what I found is if you experience that feeling of flow that you get, say, in practice and martial arts, then you look for it in your other areas of life, be it work. So for me, you know, you find a way to adapt in this modern life to that, and you know, one of the things that I've taken it is you cut the distractions for a period of time. So switch off email for a few hours so you can do some deep work. And it's actually, there's a lot of research these days that suggests that you know, the sort of parts of our brain that are focused on deep work and creative work and parts of our brain that we use to deal with emails and WhatsApp and social media are very different, and switching between the two makes you completely unproductive. So being able to focus on one area and resist the temptation to check that email for a couple of hours, or check that social messaging, actually makes you much more productive. So you can do a lot more and better work in that period of time if you take that focus and discipline that you build through practice of martial arts. And similarly, in a personal life, having that little space, whether it's an hour or two without a TV or without a mobile phone, to really give attention to your own thoughts or to the people around you, quite often can be helpful in actually making those real connections and seeing what's missing, rather than being constantly distracted with that next thing, which we get quick sort of kick of dopamine, which is the same kick that we get from coffee or alcohol or drugs or gambling, but you don't quite deal with so we become addicts to those little kicks that modern communication gives us, but you actually miss on the bigger picture, the more important things, and doing the deeper things in life. And to me, martial arts, by isolating you for that short period of time where you practice, where you look for that phone, where you've got no choice but to actually give it attention, you use it as a tool to take it the rest of life and have deeper, more meaningful relationship and bit of space, and also, doing deeper and better quality work in shorter space of time. I mean, it's anyone who's switching between email and proper work can tell you that it takes 3 or 4 times as long than when you give a piece of work just a couple of hours without distractions.
All right. So look, I mean, for sure, that's a lesson that we can pick up. I want to talk, aside from distractions, I want to talk about the importance of constant learning. And self-improvement. And I think one of the things that, certainly from my experience in martial arts, and I've been more of a hobbyist than what you've done as a person who's taken it on to a master level. But even in my own journey on martial arts, I found that doing this since I was 12 or 13 years old, there's always a desire to learn constantly. And whether you're a hobbyist or whether you're doing it full time, or however serious or not you are with a hobby, such as martial arts, the principle of constant learning is actually super valuable, and actually then can play out into other areas of your life to improve that. And you obviously see martial arts masters who are in their 70s, 80s, Danny Inosanto, William Chung, some of these senior people, Ip Man, of course, who are in their senior years, and yet they're pretty youthful and they have a sense of wanting to learn. Can you share a little bit about your perspective on constant learning and self-improvement, and taking that martial arts mindset for the average listener here, the average viewer, and how we can apply that?
I think that's a great point. I mean, one of the things that we all do since the moment we're born is we learn. The challenge is, we learn, otherwise we wouldn't be able to speak, socialize, and do work and so on. The challenge is, at a certain age, that capacity to learn and the attitude and the mental side changes from I've learned and I can slow down and so on. Whereas martial arts as a skill is something where it's very visible. What you're learning, if you almost have a feeling you're either learning and progressing, or you are slipping backwards, and there's no way to stay in one place. And the same applies to life and all aspects of life. You're either improving your skills at work, your knowledge, your relationships, or you're sliding backwards. But we think, or sometimes we tell ourselves that we can keep them stable. But in martial arts, it's very visible. You either, whether you're progressing or you're moving backward, whether you're doing forms or whether you're sparring and so on. So that attitude that you look to always improve, or if you're not, you're going to find out pretty soon. And that builds a certain attitude of humbleness that, to learn, you've got to be open to your limitations, to your mistakes, to the things that you need to improve, to be honest with yourself, where your shortcomings are, and obviously proud of your strengths. But, there is a saying in martial arts and in most other things, is that, your average players play to their strengths, whereas the top players keep working on their weaknesses. And so in martial arts, you always try and work on your weaker sides in order to become a more complete martial artist. But so that attitude and all those mental qualities of humbleness, of openness, of being self-critical, but also balancing it with what you do well, is something that I find it really valuable to keep and take to the rest of your life, and sort of, when you apply that to work and personal life and relationships, life is very interesting. You're always looking to learn something. You're always looking for a fresh challenge at work. You're always looking for fresh insights. And you're looking to surround yourself as well with people that help you grow and learn and improve. And you find that you spend less time with people that drag you back. And so you become this progressive in both work and personal life, because you're constantly driving forward. You're looking for fresh insights. You're looking to improve your skills and knowledge and so on. So that is really this attitude. And once it becomes part of your being, part of your mental and physical makeup, that is something stays with you, and you do it not subconsciously, but it becomes something that you just do. And
So do you mean to say that, and imagine, let's say somebody there doesn't want to do martial arts. Is the principle that you're trying to elicit here, or convey rather, that the mood of wanting to constantly improve oneself and strive for better and self-learning comes about through the embracing of a hobby or a passion like martial arts? It could be something else, right?
Could be anything. No, martial arts is just one thing that teaches you that, but it could be anything. I think many people have it without coming even close to martial arts. So I think, people people talk, and there are books about fixed mindset and growth mindset, and what I'm describing here is that growth mindset. And most of us there's a great book by psychologists called Growth Mindset, which sort of positions what I've described in a much more academic context. And most of us are a mixture of this fixed and growth mindset in different aspects of our life. For example, we could be in a growth mindset and trying to learn, hobbies, but at work we find it boring and sort of we don't improve. What this does, and what martial arts do, is they connect you with different aspects of yourself, and you become almost a growth mindset in broad areas, because you're more honest with yourself where you come. But as I said, that is that growth mindset of looking for those learning experience and looking for anything that you do, not just as a win-lose, but as an opportunity to learn and get better as you go through life. It is really, really important. That's what gives a lot of activities a pleasure. Whereas with a fixed mindset, the mental framework is very much you either have it or you don't.
Right.
You are a great interviewer or you're not, or you are a great martial artist, you're not. Whereas, research shows it, and my experience in many aspects of life is that, it couldn't be fair. We all start from a slightly different level, but
totally.
Everything can be improved through work and sort of through application. And that is the essence of what learning martial arts teaches you, building that growth mindset that you can take everywhere into your life.
That's awesome. So we've talked about growth. We've talked about self-learning and how martial arts can act as a metaphor for constant learning and improvement. We've talked about avoiding distractions. We've talked about focusing on something without technology, and all of these sorts of good, positive habit traits coming out through cultivation of martial arts. Let's talk about balance, because the average person, they may have a family, or they're wanting to have a family. They're needing to juggle their personal, professional lives, family lives. They may have a social life. Then they have financial obligations. What, in your 25 or more years of experience through martial arts, can you share here that allows people to find a way to find a sort of balance between physical, mental, and spiritual strength?
This could be a very long conversation, but to summarize,
some insights, some glimpses.
To summarize, I think, I mean, obviously, we all have a hierarchy of needs, right?
Maslow talks about it, right? Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Exactly, the Maslow and so on. We've all seen the sort of the pyramids and so on. So at a basic level, we want to stay healthy and physically, taken care of. So we want to stay healthy, look good and so on, and fed and sheltered and so on. And then we want to, do all these needs on top. And we all at a different level of, and at the top are the self-actualization needs of, making an impact and changing the world and all those great things that we want to achieve. But so I think having a balance is, firstly being aware of that hierarchy of needs. Obviously, if your basic needs are not met, you cannot talk about changing the world. So, making sure that you're aware of where they are. But having the balance, having the physical and the mental and the spiritual balance, it's about, firstly, to me, is aligning your goals with where you spend your time. And this is where there's a disconnect for most of us, and I include myself, because it's a dynamic balance that we're constantly seeking. So what I mean by that is, we quite often have goals, whether they be conscious or subconscious. We want to sort of save enough, we want to get married or whatever, you want to buy that house or to retire and so on, or build that skill or become a martial art master. But then, firstly, those goals are at a different level of importance, and we're not always rating them in importance. And so, just the simple exercise of writing what our goals are and how important they are on a scale, and which are short term, which are longer term, is a good start to finding that balance. And the second part is looking at where you spend your time relative to those goals.
Right.
And if you're not spending most of your time to your most important goals, then you are balanced. You are balanced with what you're trying to do, and whether you're aware of it or not, we get frustrated basically, because we want to be healthy, but we're getting fat because we're not exercising enough. So our goals are in a disconnect because we don't give sufficient time to that important goal, or we want to sort of progress at work, get that promotion, but we're not really put in enough focus. We get distracted at work, all the things that we talked about. We're not producing enough deep quality works to make a difference to that, and we do a lot of so having that physical strength, but also mental clarity and
right.
balance, actually, and being free of distractions, to come back to the earlier point, to have the time and to think, what are the important goals to my life? What are the priority of those goals? And then think
right.
about where we spend our time meeting those goals, and whether we need to readjust the time. So, if something is very important to you, you should be spending most of your time on it. And then, the next chunk of time is to the second most important goal, and so on. So to me, that is the key to balance, and that is again where martial arts with me and other things like meditation is teaches you, gives you that space to step back from your daily hustle and bustle and do something else, and then look back at your life with a fresh band. Am I on the right track? Do I have the right balance? Are my goals aligned? Is my time aligned to those goals, and so on?
Okay, I like that. Let's since you mentioned it, let's just touch on that. One of your hobbies, one of your big passions, alongside martial arts, is meditation, and I know that you are a avid practitioner and a follower of the teachings of the Taoist traditions. One of the most one of the foremost authorities in the world, living legend, Mantak Chia, who is a Taoist master. What glimpses or realizations would you care to share here about meditation and that practice through the traditions that you've learned from?
Really good point. I think Master Chia has got a system that works fine. For me, I think, meditations and mindfulness, there are so many different systems in the same way that there are martial arts, and some of them overlap. A lot of martial arts which have meditation aspects and so on. I think what is great about Master Chia's Qigong practice and system, the healing Tao, as he calls it, is that it integrates, sort of balances, the physical, the mental, the spiritual energy, even sexual energies, bring them together, making you aware and, building that strong physical body, but also balancing those internal energies, and constantly looking to enhance and purify your body. So again, you have that sort of, our body and our mind is a vehicle to the things that we want to achieve in life. So you have a good vehicle that will take you very fast and very efficiently to where you need to go.
Right.
And again, the practices are themselves quite efficient. So you don't spend hours and hours of practicing, but short, quick bursts of practice and meditation actually give you enough power and fuel and clarity to get there. So I'm a big believer in if it's a goal, you look for the most efficient way to achieve it, whether it's in martial art, in meditation, or even in fitness and conditioning, where high intensity interval training does exactly the same versus some other things. So it's one of many, but it works well, and it's a very efficient way of getting the way you need to get.
I love that. I think that's such a highlight, and it's something that it's a subject, I think, close to many listeners' hearts, the need for meditation, the sheer need for switching off from technology, from people, and from our mental traffic in order to get to a place of stillness. And clearly a practice like you're describing, which embraces mindfulness, which embraces breathing techniques and other aspects, the healing Tao here in this particular case, is a great vehicle then. And do you see that benefit coming out academically in your career, where you're needing to be actually very switched on? Like, that's almost a dichotomy, right? You're needing to switch off here, but then you need to be really switched on, in your day job or whatever it is.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, for 20 years, I've worked, and I still work in the telecoms, media, and technology industry as a research consulting director for big firms, and having that internal side and awareness and balance to go into a room of senior executives and sort of having the confidence to challenge them on certain things. It just takes a certain belief, and meditation, martial art has given me that sort of personally, that grounding to go in and do it with confidence, but also with humbleness and sort of in an energy that you in a way that you can achieve what you need to do while being still respectful to whatever the egos, the charismas of these very senior executives in the room, and quite often there is a mental energy level dynamic going on where you're being tested, you're being felt, whether you actually really have it in terms of beliefs and so on. And having the grounding, having the internal balance actually gives you that added credibility and that added strength when you say, well, actually you are on the wrong path with this technology strategy, and it's because of this analysis, but it's the way you deliver that message gives another credibility. So it absolutely helps with what you do in every aspect of your life.
Love that. Love that. And it makes so much sense as well. I wanted to just touch on one other area, and that was around building a strong mind through martial arts. Because martial arts, on the one hand, everybody considers it to be about discipline and developing an ability to defend oneself, but isn't a whole aspect of resilience in life, mental toughness. It's a mental self-defense. And is there any insight that you could share that might help people to develop that?
Yeah, I think we talked about, just building the habit of, setting aside 3 or 4 times or however many times you can set aside of your life, of your week, to go aside and practice and improve yourself, even when sometimes you don't feel really like doing it, but having the discipline to get yourself and do it builds that resilience and discipline that you then take. And then once you're into it, as you develop your physical ability, in some ways, martial arts is learning a complicated foreign language, but it's not only mental, but it's physical, and there's all sorts of aspects. So as you get into difficult parts of the grammar of this language, or as you get into some difficult conversations with some people that ask you some difficult questions, i.e. in a sparring situation, as you learn to come up with answers to those difficult questions, and as you get more fluent in this, using the foreign language analogy, as you make mistakes, you write your first essay, again in this foreign language, you get shot down by this, and building your confidence that you do believe in what you're making changes. So all those things, and I'm speaking here figuratively in that foreign language analogy, but I'm talking about, whether you're aspiring or learning or taking an exam or failing an exam or failing a grading, all those things that you do in martial art, that builds resilience. And as you do that over a period of time, it becomes part of you that you will require discipline, you will make mistakes, you will not get everything right, but if you are humble and honest and you look honestly at those mistakes and you keep learning, eventually you will get there. And that's what you take. That's what you take elsewhere in your life. And you face the same challenges with that attitude, and more than not, you will do better than you would have done without that mental framework.
Okay, thanks. I've got a couple of rapid fire questions. I hope you'll indulge me, Angel.
Go ahead.
What scares you? What keeps you up at night?
I sleep pretty well. I think a lot of the time, I'm a big believer in the power of our subconscious mind, and there are sometimes some challenges where the phrase seek and you shall find, and ask and you shall be answered, and it is so true for the power of the subconscious mind. Some problems you need to frame them, and then you need to wait, and the answer may come to you a day or two after, but your subconscious mind would have worked if you framed it well enough. And again, my fear is I may not be able to crack some difficult problems like that, even by giving them enough time. But most of the time, if something's really important to you and you frame it clearly enough, you either in a sort of conscious whiteboarding session or in a subconscious 2 days down the line in the gym, the answer does pop out to you.
Okay, I like that, and I'll take that. Thank you. If you could have any superhero power, what would it be, and what would you do with it?
I would be immortal. So I can keep on learning and growing forever.
You'd be immortal. I like that. Okay, so you take immortality. Okay. All right. Nice. What one piece of advice would you give the 20-year-old Angel if he was here today, listening to this show?
That is a really good point. I'm trying to think. So I think there's one aspect.
You could say, and I'll take the compliment, Angel. You could say that you're good with your kung fu, and I'm kind of good at my tongue fu there.
I will never disagree with that, Prash. You know that.
We've had a good journey here, folks. If you're tuned in, I'm just a slight deviation here while Angel thinks of the answer to that question. God knows he's made a lot of screw ups, so there could be a lot of advice for his 20-year-old self.
Yeah.
But it was a pleasure to have met Angel. It's a funny old story because he moved into our street, and I had no idea he did what he did. And there was a situation one night, the day before Halloween. There were 4 guys walking in a strange way on our street, smoking something. One of them looked like they were carrying a weapon. I came to clear the trash from the house, and Angel here happened to clear the trash, come out at the same time to clear his rubbish. And these 4 guys started beating up on a young kid. Angel got straight in there, and within 2-3 minutes, he just had them all on the floor. And they were crying, bruised, blood spattered. And I just kind of walked up to him and I high-fived him. I said, dude, that was awesome. Can you teach me that? What's your name? He says, my name is Mr. Miyagi. All right. It didn't quite all work out that way. But we got talking. We had a friendly neighborhood conversation, as you do. I welcomed him on our street. And, as it turned out, he described his passion for martial arts. And little did I know that, he is a veritable, not only is he a great martial artist, and I've seen him, and I've studied with him now. So I know he's a great teacher. He's actually a really good teacher. And Angel, I got to give that to you, man. There's a lot of people who do martial arts and who are very good at it. But to teach and to be a coach and to impart that wisdom in a way that makes it applicable and accessible to different kinds of people at different skill levels, that's an art in itself. And I think it was one of the joys I had, and not to forget your keen sense of humor. Even though you're Macedonian, I mean, you got one. That's amazing.
And I thought this was going on so well.
Sorry, man, not to throw you off. Your 20-year-old self. I still fondly remember the martial arts sessions in your back garden, by the way. I still have forearms with bruises because of what you did. My forearms were bruised right here, all bruised. Look, see that bruise? That's from you. That's from training with you.
It can't be possibly true because you haven't trained with me for years now.
The bruises stay there, man. I was your first student, man. Tell everybody listening in, who is your first student here, man?
Right. I think I can see a question on the chat line. I wonder. Yeah. Okay.
Let's take that.
No. I don't think that's it.
Okay. So your 20-year-old self is standing here or tuned into this interview. What?
I think my 20-year-old self was quite often making some good decisions, but sometimes some quick decisions as well. And if there's one advice I would give myself is take a bit of time, especially before so important decisions.
Right.
Even if it feels right,
Hmm.
we sometimes take a decision with our head and our heart and our gut. Give it time, and the more time you have, the better the decision is. So that's the only sort of thing. But on the whole, I'm pretty good with all the big decisions I've made, sort of, for the last 20 years for sure.
I love that. I really appreciate that. So talking of all the decisions you've made, what projects are on your radar at the moment? What have you got your hands filled with in the present space? And what, if anything, can our viewers and listeners take part in?
Well, a lot going on actually. So besides teaching my Kung Fu class, my Wing Chun class in Harrow, London, which is there's detail on London Wing Chun Kung Fu.com, which is really my passion and my love. It's something I do pro bono. The other two sort of big things are Whitebridge, really. There's a Whitebridge Insight, which is my research and consulting operation. And then there is Whitebridge Capital, which is my investment operation, which, again, investing in the stock market is something I've enjoyed for a very long time. And there's a martial arts aspect into that, and the discipline, especially the emotional discipline that's required as the market goes up and down, and the way you analyze opportunities. So those two things are on a professional level, something that I'm looking to get, expand, take to the next level in the coming 6 to 12 months.
Is that something your martial arts is your hobby, it's your passion, it's pro bono, as you say, and I think that's a really special thing to point out. I mean, I know that when Angel set up these classes, I was there, and he does this because he cares. People walk in from the street, they pay a nominal fee to help just cover the expenses. Everything he teaches, his teachings are free. It's the sincerity and the desire to learn that he looks for in his students. And if I'm not mistaken, Angel, it has always been, and it is still open to most classes of human beings who are kind and caring and want to learn something, the mind and the body, right?
Yes.
Very few are excluded. And tell us about Whitebridge a little bit for a moment. Can people get involved? Are there any links that we can share later on?
Right, so Whitebridge Insight, yes, the website is wbinsight.com. So that is my research and consulting operation, which has been launched this year. So prior to my long career with Oven and Gartner for almost 20 years in both, this is my sort of new independent venture. So it's very exciting. So a lot of learning, a lot of new stuff, and all the things that we talked about earlier about martial arts come into play here. So yes, there's detail on that website. It focuses on the telecoms, media, and the technology industries, where I've spent, as I said, a good part of 2 decades working at very senior level with some big clients like BT, Vodafone, Apple, Samsung, Ericsson, and Huawei, and sort of taking that consulting and research experience now into this new venture. And again, Whitebridge Capital, focuses on investing mostly in technology and media organization. Again, using my research and sort of knowledge of these industries, and taking it to a new level in terms of investing in sort of organizations that are good businesses in that part. And again, that's been doing really well. At the moment, it operates as a family office. Haven't taken to the step of opening it up to external investors, but that's something that is certainly on the cards for the next 12 months.
Wow, it's powerful. We can make investments in our personal growth and our financial growth, and you've got hands in both those areas, which is awesome.
Yeah, it's all about growth in every aspect.
It's all about growth. It's all about growth. Angel, it's been a pleasure having you. Time, as I knew it would, has gone by so quickly. And we are at the end of our fantastic and highly insightful episode. It just remains for me to thank you for coming on and trusting to be on this. I know you don't tend to do long formats interviews like this and informal ones. And as I knew you would just be your authentic self. And you've been great. It's been great having you. And I now
Thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure, as always, to hang out and have this conversation. But thank you for having me. It's been a really interesting conversation, and I look forward to continuing the conversation.
I hope so. In fact, I would like to have you back on the show. And how about doing an episode on mastery? That's what I'd like to do. Have you back, and we'll have a whole episode on mastery. And I know that's an area that's close to your heart. You've had many years experience in mastery. And I think that'll be a really good topic for people to get their teeth into. So let's do this again. Let's have you back. Let's talk about that. I think it's a fantastic subject for a lot of people. Folks, if you're hearing this, click in, show your appreciation and interest, and give us your thumbs ups if you'd like to see that. And that just remains for me to say an invitation to all of you. We have a couple of wonderful events coming up real soon. On top of the martial arts that Angel teaches, the Wing Chun Kung Fu that happens on a Monday night at, Angel, 7 o'clock?
7:30.
7:30. And we'll provide details of where that is. On top of that, we have a end of year Christmas mantra therapy event taking place on the 15th of December in London. Stay tuned for the details. We'll keep you all posted. It'll be out on the social media feeds in due course. It should be a real good anti-materialistic, anti-commercial end, spiritually uplifting end to a Christmas that we'll all remember for sure. So the Mantra Therapy Christmas special coming your way. Also calling all men out there, in particular, men who've spent 20 or 30 years, 40 years growing up, feeling the pains of family life, had difficulties growing up and finding to earn a living. We are running the Menpowerment Masterclass and workshops. Watch out for that. We're running webinars every week. And on the 9th of December, we have a one-day masterclass, specially for men to help untangle, undo, and release old baggage and equip you with the best kind of fresh tools that you can use to optimize your career, professional, and personal lives. That's coming your way. The Menpowerment Academy, look us up on Facebook. That is also another project we got. And just a small heads up and a sneak peek, we are going to our favorite UK destination for retreats, Buckland Hall, in March 8th to 11th. We're going to be doing our 4-day legendary detox and transformation retreat. Those of you who've been on it, you sure as hell know how good they are. And this is an invitation for all of you. If you are ready for the challenge to improve yourself and grow, as Angel has been talking about in this interview, keep those 4 days booked. 8th to 11th of March, we'll be up in Wales at Buckland Hall for a 4-day detox and transformation retreat. More to follow. Folks, thank you so much for joining us and staying till the end. Those of you who haven't, you'll enjoy the replay. Check the links in the comments for how to follow Angel. Find out more about the Wing Chun martial arts that he's passionate about and everything else. And we will see you on the next episode. Prash and Angel, namaste. Peace out.
Thank you very much.
Hey, folks. Thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode. And as with all our episodes, found something to inform, inspire, and empower you in your spiritual and personal journeys in life. As always, if you enjoyed it, feel free to leave a little love through your ratings and comments, share it with those who you care about, and take your personal and spiritual evolution to the next level by joining us on one of our events, workshops, or retreats. Find out more about us at mantratherapy.co.uk. I'm your host, Prash K. This is Urban Spirituality, and we will catch you on the next episode.